something else. But he's Minnesota High School Baseball Player of the Year. I had a guy call me and said, your son is qualified this summer to pitch for the Minnesota Turkeys or whatever they're called. It's a travel team, and we play about 80 or 90 games this summer. We play in tournaments all over, and he saw this, and I said, cut the bull. What's it going to cost me? He said, $5,000. And I said, my son's going to play American Legion ball with his buddies. You can take your $5,000 and go. But that's what these select teams. There's a team down in San Diego that my son spoke to their league. Their mantra is, if you sign up to play for our select league, you can't play any other sport. You must train what they say. And my son got up and gave his spiel, and they got into arguments because it was. And my son is headstrong. He's not as bad as me, but he believes in what he says. And this league, you can't play any other sport. You must play for them. You must train with them. You must go to their coaches. You must go to their trainers, their physical fitness people, and all that to play. Now, select baseball. Let's say 5,000 is too much. Let's say 3. I would say 2,500, but I can't multiply. You've got 15 kids on a team from age 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. That's 9 years that you have of $3,000 times 9 times 15. You don't think this is a multi-million-dollar business? Why would those select teams want to listen to Glenn Fleissig or Chris Ahmad or Neil Elatrage or Jimmy Andrews when you're going to take money out of their pockets? There's no way. I mean, it's a multi-million-dollar business, and they're going to keep milking it for all it's worth. That's my opinion.
The best-selling book, The Arm, outstanding, unprecedented, comprehensive journey through the science and I guess the folklore of pitching industries is a must-read. And it found, Dr. Ahmad, that in Japan, 40% of 9 to 12-year-olds, 40% of 9 to 12-year-olds had ulnar collateral damage. It's staggering.
Yeah, there's certainly different cultures that are experiencing different injury patterns, and so the Japanese culture is of course different than ours. They tend to throw, their ball size is a little different, the cover of the ball, the seams are a little bit different, and the way that they value volume of pitching is different. And in some ways the Dominican Republic is different too, but some of these kids are throwing for their livelihood, and so they're going to throw no matter what happens because that is their ability to get out of their current situation, which is may in some situations be impoverished. So the stress in the culture that influences things can have huge impact, and it's something that we can learn from. You asked a very simple question, and it's something that I found amazing, and that is, if somebody gets injured, say their ligament tears, one of our studies that we're doing now is looking at their video, and looking at their pitching, and we're trying to analyze it and get all this fancy data. We have all kinds of amazing metrics. Were they fatigued? Were they having a release point problem? And nobody's ever done a study that said, let's ask a pitcher why they feel they got hurt. Nobody's ever done that. So we started this project. And guys will say, it's the most intense pitching I ever had. I've never had to throw this hard this many times. I got up and down so many times in the bullpen. Other guys might say, my shoulder's been sore, and now my angle has been changed, and I feel like my release point is off, and then all of a sudden my sinker started to cut, and all of a sudden something bad happened to me. So it's amazing how much information we could ask by just looking at a picture and saying, hey, why do you think you got hurt? And then you can ask the guys who didn't get hurt, why do you think you stay so healthy? And I think we could learn a lot just by asking some of these guys.
You know, one of the things, again, I go back to my son, Tommy. He said, Dad, what would you think if we could institute, I don't know, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, before kids could ever start to play in the spring, that they had to go through a physical fitness test. Strength, I mean, he's had kids come in and ask him to help them throw. And he said, okay, I want you to stand on one leg. They can't stand on one leg. He stand on the other leg. They can't do that. He had a father, after the kid couldn't do it, he said, when your son can do these things, he's strong enough to do these, come back and I'll work with him. All that's going to happen now is he's not strong enough to throw a baseball. He's going to get hurt. And the dad says, well, I'll take him down to Coach so-and-so down the road. He'll work with him. Tommy said, okay, fine, do that. But, you know, it's not a bad idea that these kids at 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, they have to perform certain physical strength tests to get on the field. And then maybe injuries will be the same, but it might not be, because these kids are not strong enough to support their own body, and let alone throwing hard.
Here's what I think too is very important. What I think is this: you have a little league pitcher, 9 to 12, throwing at little league distance. There are a lot of places where you jump from little league distance to 60 feet 6 inches. You know how much effort a 13-year-old has to put into a pitch to go 60 feet 6 inches. I was lucky. I started pitching in the little league when I was 9. I pitched 9 through 12, but then we had an intermediate distance with the pony league. Then after I pitched as a 13-year-old in the pony league, then when I got to 14 or 15, I went 60 feet 6 inches, and of course then you did the pony league, American Legion, everything you could get a hold of, you know. But I think that is a huge problem for the youth in baseball. If you're a place where you go from little league distance to major league distance, you need an intermediate stop there before you move to major league distance.
Tell the people here, Leo, how competitive Cobb County baseball is.
It's unbelievable. I mean, some of the managers wear these gaudy rings. You thought they won the World Series 10 years in a row. It's bigger than the World Series ring I got. You know, it's a joke. And then I had one guy that runs one of the leagues say, I want to talk to you about pitching. I ended up him telling me more than, I said, boy, where'd you come up with that at? I mean, I thought, you know what, I'm out of here. You know, I'm not going to listen to this ass. He said to me, he says, Leo, he said, how do you get a pitcher to get his body to deliver a pitch from a goalpost position? I said, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Goalpost position. Anyway, but then there's another league there in East Cobb County, 643 double play, that I affiliated myself with, who have the kids as their best interest. They want to make sure, and they brought me in to talk to all their pitchers and all their coaches about how to keep pitchers healthy and take care of these kids. Then the other East Cobb group, they're all about, I'm an East Cobb Astro and I've got all these rings. And it isn't the players, it's the pitcher, it's the guy that runs it and the coaches. It's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. I mean, it's ridiculous, man.
It is. Is it ridiculous?
Yeah, it's brutal.
Short answer is we have to go. Unfortunately, we could go all night. Fernandez in Miami, Strasburg in Washington, Harvey in New York, countless others. Babied, protected, still broke down.
Let me tell you something about Hernandez, and I got a little insight on that from a former pupil of mine. He talked to Hernandez about what he did in between starts. When Hernandez wanted to talk to him about how Smoltz did his Tommy John, right? How he recovered from it.
This is Jose Fernandez.
Okay. He threw as hard as he could in between starts, one time in between starts, and Smoltz said, "What are you, nuts? To throw as hard as you can in between starts." And he threw one time in a 5-man rotation and air it out. And he said, "What did you guys do?" Smoltz says, "We threw a couple of times in between starts, and we just got the dust off, a little feel and touch, and we were ready to go." There's your difference, I think. A big difference there. But I also think that the emphasis on this thing here is getting to the kids, getting to the teenagers, getting to the, but getting to the coaches and everybody like that is what I think's the most important thing. But I think the Major League Baseball's got it wrong also.
And should do what?
I think you have to allow pitchers to throw more, take off the limitations, but you have to hire coaches. I think the reason why that happens is I don't feel they have enough good coaches that the organizations don't trust them. You certainly don't have enough good coaches in the teenage all-star leagues, because most of those leagues want to wear that gaudy ring or say, look at us, we're the best team in the teenage all-stars.
Okay, you're a coach. You've got a Strasburg, and you abuse him, and you go, and he comes down. Do you think Scott Boras would sue you, the organization, the orthopedic surgeon, the general manager, whomever else? I think that is one of the reasons that baseball has put brakes on these guys, because agents control the game of baseball. I don't care what you say, agents control the game of baseball. When Washington Nationals, Scott Boras had 12 or 13 players on that roster that were his players. You don't think that he controls what's the general manager's name? Rizzo?
Rizzo.
Rizzo, you don't think that he